美国时事通，我是罗文。
He would ban abortion nationwide, restrict access to birth control and put IVF treatments at risk, and force states to monitor women's pregnancies. Just Google Project 2025 and read the plans for yourself.
The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it
won't have to? I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women, IVF treatment. Because we want more babies, to put it very nicely. And for this same reason, we will also allow new parents to deduct major newborn expenses from their taxes so that parents that have a beautiful baby will be able. So we're pro-family. Nobody's ever said that before. But the IVF treatments are expensive. It's very hard for many people to do it and to get it. But I've been in favor of IVF right from the beginning. Made up about Project 25. They've been told officially, legally, in every way that we have nothing to do with Project 25. They know it, but they bring it up anyway.
There were dozens of lies during this. Charlottesville, she lied about. She said she lied about a national sales tax that Trump has never supported. She said Trump wants a nationwide ban on abortion. He didn't. He said, I just want it to go back to states. Let the voters decide. Right. A ban on IVF. He's been an advocate for IVF. Publicly. That was just one extreme person that mentioned not to have IVF. So many babies are born because of IVF. Trump's involvement on Project 2025 wasn't involved. That was Heritage Foundation. And that Trump wants to cut Medicaid. This is not true.
But the bottom line is this. I believe in the promise of America. I have not been able to be the first in every position that I've had, were it not for the promise of America. I believe in our country. I love our country. And I believe that leadership has to be about knowing our capacity and then investing in the people. Because lifting up each person that we do is about lifting up the whole.
So it's the hardest thing. You know, in business, and you like to go and where you started from, you sort of like to understand where the other side's coming from. So here you're looking at something. Why do they want men in women's sports? And, you know, I've been doing this now. I used to say, I was very proud to say I wasn't a politician, but I guess after a while you're sort of a politician.
I think you qualify, yeah.
And, you know, so, I mean, I hate to say it, but you like to know where the other side's coming from. And I'll say, why do they want to have men, and they're so emphatic about it, men playing in women's sports? You see what's happening in volleyball, what's happening in swimming, what's happening in weightlifting. How about weightlifting, where records that stood for 18 years, you know, are being broken like by hundreds of pounds. The whole thing is crazy. Then you say, why do they want to have transition? I call them transition operations by the thousands. If you just say, well, I'm thinking about it, they throw you into an operating table. And you say, why do they want to have that? Who wants that? Who wants to have open borders? Which are, they're all the same thing. They don't make any sense. You know, we're the party of common sense, right? Because I think we're really the party of common sense. And there can only be a couple of reasons. Number one, they're stupid. Well, they're not stupid because you can't be stupid. No, but you can't be stupid and be that good at cheating on elections, okay? Because they're great at that. So they could be stupid. They could also hate our country. They could hate our country. They may hate our country. They may not even know it. You know, a lot of people don't know it, but and the other thing is they want to cheat on elections by signing these people up. And they are trying to sign people up. They're trying to sign people up that don't even know what country they're in, okay? So that's the other thing. So it's one of those three things. Nobody really knows. But you'd say, okay, so I've been doing this for a while. I've never had anybody, I've had people come up and say, gee, it would be great if you could get the taxes down. Gee, it would be great if you could do this. It would be hundreds of things. Nobody's ever come up to me and said, it's really important to me that we allow men to play in women's sports. Nobody. Nobody. And yet, it's such a big deal. It's such a big deal.
Wait, so you think the point may be just to destroy, just to break the country?
It could be they hate our country. I mean, they may hate our country.
Tonight, mixed messages. A K-file investigation this hour finds Kamala Harris is targeting crucial battleground voters with vastly different messages on Gaza and Israel. This ad is running in Michigan, which has the largest Arab population in America.
What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent.
All right, well, it's a very different story for an ad in Pennsylvania targeting Jewish voters.
Let me be clear. I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7.
Different message. Andrew Kaczynski is out front now. So, Andrew, those obviously do sound starkly different, to say the least. Tell me more about what you found.
Yeah, that's right. And look, this really illustrates the sort of fine line that the Harris campaign is trying to walk here in the closing weeks, closing days of this campaign on the issue of Israel. Here you have two entirely different constituencies, and they are getting two entirely different messages. There are often times these constituencies have very opposing views on this. If you are a Jewish person in Pennsylvania, you saw that ad that you're getting. You are getting that ad that talks about how strong she is in Israel. If you're a Muslim voter in Michigan, you are getting that ad on Facebook that's talking about how she won't be silent on the issue of Gaza. Now, what's really interesting here is that ad that we just played, the one that's going to Jewish voters in Pennsylvania. Now, it sort of sounds like those two clips of her talking about Israel are together, but they actually cut part of it out. Take a listen to what they cut.
What has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating. President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
And you've seen, too, that she, they cut out that portion of the ad where they talked about Gaza from her DNC speech. Those two parts were together. They sliced them. They cut that part out. Now, look, she's also getting hammered a lot on this issue by Republicans. We talked just a couple days ago about how those robocalls were airing in Wisconsin that are made to sound like they're in support of Jill Stein, talking about her position on Gaza, saying that they're highlighting her pro-Israel position, and they're sort of trying to siphon those votes away from her. So this is a really delicate issue for her.
Oh, it certainly is. I mean, the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination being cut out. It's important to notice that. All right, now you also...
They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. 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 I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. Kamala has imported criminal migrants from prisons and jails, from insane asylums and mental institutions all over the world, from Venezuela to the Congo, including savage criminals who assault, rape, and murder our women and girls. Anyone who would let monsters kidnap and kill our children does not belong anywhere near the Oval Office. And my people told me about 4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say. I said, why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. They said... They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. I pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
Trump said he was going to do something for women, whether they like it or not, whether the women like it or not. He was talking about protecting women, whether they like it or not. Certainly you can take issue with the language, but it wasn't he wasn't saying he was just going to do whatever he wanted, regardless of, you know. Anyway, anyway, but let's talk. I mean, but you take my point. You don't disagree, right? I'm saying I'm going to protect them, whether the women want me to protect them, whether right.
And some would say that's misogynist, and that's.
But it's not as she presented it.
I think. Look, ultimately, I think we have to be careful in these last days. We did this in 2016. He's going to say something horrible, ridiculous, over the line.
So just quote it accurately.
No, that's not my point. I just don't think we need to say every update, because the point is where she went to, which is we know who this guy is. This is not someone who respects women.
Is it weird for you to see Liz Cheney, that'd be Dick Cheney's repulsive little daughter, running against you with Kamala Harris?
Well, I think it hurts Kamala a lot, actually. Look, she's a deranged person. But the reason she couldn't stand me is that she always wanted to go to war with people. I don't want to go to war. She wanted to stay in Syria. I took them out. She wanted to stay in Iraq. I took them out. I mean, if it were up to her, we'd be in 50 different countries. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person. And I used to I'd have meetings with a lot of people, and she always wanted to go to war with people.
He has increased his violent rhetoric, Donald Trump has, about political opponents, and in great detail, suggested rifles should be trained on former Representative Liz Cheney. This must be disqualifying. Anyone who wants to be president of the United States who uses that kind of violent rhetoric is clearly disqualified and unqualified to be president.
What's the first word that pops into your head when you hear the name Kamala Harris?
Liar.